Most victims of cyberbullying do not tell their parents. Only about 20% of kids tell. The younger the victim, the more likely they are to disclose. They're also more likely to disclose if there's distressing or explicit material being shared. Teenagers are the least likely to disclose that they're being cyberbullied. Nearly half of kids would tell a friend, though. Most of the time, kids fear that adults will only make the problem worse. They're afraid that their parents will become over-involved or restrict their access and cut them off from their social networks. Again, it's important to remember that this is a child's social life. So why don't kids speak up? Many times they're afraid of the repercussions. They're afraid that they'll get into trouble. They're afraid that they'll get the bully into trouble and it will make things worse for them. They're also afraid of losing internet privileges. Kids are really afraid that you're going to take away their internet privileges or spy on them. They're embarrassed. They might be embarrassed about what's being said about them and that you might believe it or think that they're weak for feeling hurt by somebody else's words. Kids are also afraid that the situation might escalate if they say anything, that the bully might retaliate, or that other kids might get involved. And many times, because they know who's bullying them, they don't want to be thought of as a snitch. So let's talk. We really have to make discussion opportunities available to our kids. We have to make the time for them. We have to talk specifically about cyberbullying, and we as parents have to bring up the subject. The other thing to know is that 70% of kids are bystanders. It's important to encourage these children to report concerns. They're seeing this happening. So encourage your kids to let you know if they're aware of others who are victims or perpetrators of cyberbullying. It's incredibly important to establish clear expectations and boundaries with your kids about internet and cell phone usage. Let your kids know that you may review their online communications when you think it might be necessary. Outline your expectations for reasonable online behavior and make it clear that there will be consequences for inappropriate behavior. Stay calm, though. Think about how you'll need to respond to your child being bullied or being the perpetrator ahead of time. Having a plan in advance will help you to remain calmer. But above all, we really have to have conversations with our kids, and we have to let them know that reporting has to be the norm. We also need to help kids know what to report. We need them to be able to tell us who is involved, who's bullying, what is being said, how it's being said, how often the behavior is happening, where it's happening. Is it happening just online? Is it happening at school as well? And then we also need to know who else is involved, because the bystanders are incredibly important in this process as well. We need to let kids know when to involve adults. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, and a lot of kids believe that it is. Even adults ask for help when needed. I always tell the story that when I do my taxes, I don't know how to do my taxes, so I ask for an accountant. And if somebody robbed my house, I'd call the police instead of going after the robber myself. Parents want to help. Their interest and concern might increase, and it's about safety, not about trust, and that's what we have to communicate to our kids. We need to tell our kids that they need to talk to an adult, especially if they're upset or aren't sure what to do about cyberbullying. We need to have them tell adults when the cyberbullying is also bullying them in real life, or if they've been threatened with harm, or the cyberbullying appears to be a crime. Kids need to tell an adult if material has been posted that could damage their reputation, their friendships, their future education, or their career opportunities. Adults need to know when the cyberbullying is also bullying other students, or when they've tried everything else to get the bully to stop, but it hasn't worked.